Yeah, so we are going to start with reactions. We each picked one from the slate of games this weekend. I will kick us off here, Jake. My reaction is the Kansas City offense is going to be just fine without Tyreek Hill there. I know there's a lot of chatter this offseason. What's the offense going to look like? What are they going to do? You know, Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes are such a dynamic duo. Travis Kelce's getting older. They bring in a bunch of just guys that aren't necessarily quote unquote special. They brought in Juju, MVS from the Packers. Mecole Hardman's going into his third season here, but he hasn't done anything. You know, they got the rookie Sky Moore. You know, they bring in a bunch of who's of running backs with Ronald Jones, and they got the rookie with Isaiah Pacheco, and you know all these new pieces coming in, and we're all questioning, what is this offense really going to look like? I mean, because Tyreek and Kelce were kind of the focal points here, but now was this going to be more of a spread it around offense? Was it going to be hyper focused on Kelce? Was one of these wide receivers going to emerge? And you know, the offense itself, I mean, they lit the world on fire. And I don't know if that was just a function of week one, where they had basically all offseason to prep for this Arizona game, as seen as they were the first game on their schedule. If it's a function of the defenses just not being quite as caught up as the offense. I think we touched on that last week a little bit. Or did Andy Reid just really revamp his offense, and this is what the KC offense is going to be? But I mean, Patrick Mahomes, 360 yards, 5 touchdowns. It's what we all expect.
It's not too shabby.
Yeah.
Not too shabby for old Patty there.
Yeah. Travis Kelce, 8 receptions, 121 yards, and a touchdown. Great. That's kind of what we expected. But from these wide receivers, you saw Juju with 6 receptions for 79 yards. No touchdown, but still very encouraging that he's gotten that much, you know, usage. MVS had 4 for 44. Jerick McKinnon got involved in the passing game, much to the chagrin of people out there, I'm sure. And then we also saw a little CEH getting involved in the rush game and the receiving game. He had 2 receiving touchdowns. What's up with that? So yeah, I think our worries are kind of were overblown here, wondering what was going to happen with this offense. Andy Reid he's still an offensive genius. You still have one of the best quarterbacks in the league, one of the best tight ends in the league. They've got nothing to worry about.
Yeah, seems like that offense they're gonna do some things. Mm-hmm. Who knows? They might even make it to the playoffs, Dustin. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking crazy. Maybe I'm talking crazy. No, I like that. I do wonder at this stage, to follow up on this, we have both tempered our expectations for Travis Kelce in various ways. Mm-hmm. All right, yours was a little bit more about like, yeah, maybe he'll get the yardage, but not the touchdowns, or vice versa. Mine was just saying flat out, I'm not going to take him the first 2 rounds of my drafts, because I didn't think his production would be that much higher than the average tight end. And now I'm wondering, you know, he was still the focal point in week 1. Do we think that backs off? Like the offense as a whole, obviously, is going to be great. Do we think that Travis Kelce's production takes it down a notch? Or is this what we expect week in and week out?
I think this is probably what you can expect for the majority of the season here, barring any sort of injury. Unless teams really game plan around removing Travis Kelce to try to force Mahomes to go to his other receivers, that would be the only way. Like, you know how teams will game plan for certain wide receivers, certain tight ends, running backs, whatever, because they're that good. Well, maybe that's this case now, that teams will start to do that with Kelce because they don't believe these wide receivers are going to be the difference makers. So he could see some double coverages, or, you know, there could be some games where he gets shut down. But I think overall, I mean, he at this point locked in as your tight end 1 for the season.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. I do think, actually, though, I kind of expected a hotter start. We talked about this on a previous episode, right? I think it's reasonable the first 3 games, 4 games, where Pat is still getting that connection established with his new wide receivers that, like, yeah, he's going to rely on the guy that's been there forever. I still think that it tapers off a little bit. But now I don't know what that looks like. I'm not about to say that Kelsey's going to bust the rest of the year, the second half, or anything crazy like that. But I do think it won't be quite as impressive as this week one going forward. But that's just me. But my reaction in week one was that any worries we might have had about Davante Adams having a down transition year with the Raiders were assuaged this weekend. We basically got the kaput on that. I had talked about it. I don't know if he's going to be able to maintain the target share that he had with Aaron Rodgers, which was insanely high. It's mid 30%, high 30% target share for the last 3 years, basically. I said, man, there's just no way, because Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow, and they're great players in their own right. Davante can't possibly keep that up. And then he comes out week one. He has 17 targets against the Chargers. That's a 46% share of the targets.
That is scorching.
Almost, by the way, for you non-mathematicians, that's almost 50%. And he ends up putting up a stat line of 10 receptions for 141 yards and a touchdown off of that. It's like, yeah, his old college quarterback is gunning for it every time, just about. And he has no bones about that. And so it's like,
they must breakfast together.
They must breakfast, brunch, Brenner. They must do it all together. But, you know, and I think some of it was just, look, dude, we're going to prove some doubters wrong this first week. Like, you and me, we're still right there. We're just going to do this. And part of it might have just been very intentional. And part of it is just Davante Adams being that fucking good. Now, Darren Waller, again, very good. Hunter Renfrow, very good players in their own right. They were the next closest in the target ladder here. They each had 6 apiece. 6 apiece. Davante Adams, 17. These guys, 6 apiece. Again, I'm not saying that this is going to track the rest of the season, that Davante is now locked in for almost 50% of the targets every single week. But what a goddamn showing. And it does make me feel like he's going to be right on track for where he has been the last couple of years.
I was going to say, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibilities to see like a 30% target share again, based off of this week.
Absolutely. In fact, I think that should be expected. You know, that sort of regression, great. But if you're saying, well, now he's just magically going to float down to 20% after this crazy week one, I would have a bone to pick with that. So I really do think that we kind of have a solidification of that depth chart right now and who Derek Carr is going to look for. I still think both those other guys will have very usable weeks for fantasy. But Adams, yeah, you know, top 3 the rest of the way. Absolutely for me.